Hey, what's up you guys? I'm back with another video, and right now we're going to react to It's Desperation Time for these 5 NBA players by Andy Hoops. So he's probably gonna talk about the NBA players who need to prove their worth this season. So let's go.
Time is running short. It's a make or break season for these guys. While they came in with super high expectations, it's been a rough ride, and the critics have constantly denigrated them for years. This season is more important than ever because it will determine the future on their respective teams. For some, it's a contract year. There's no better time in your career to play at your absolute best. As a wise man once said, desperation is the greatest motivator for progress.
Facts.
You won't try your hardest until you're on the edge of falling. I don't actually remember who said that. I think it was my 4th grade teacher. Anyway, how's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and today let's take a look at 5 NBA players who are at a very important turning point in their careers. Their decisions and their play in the 2021-22 season will determine how the rest of their career will play out. Let's get started. Marvin Bagley. I don't think there's any other young player in recent years who've been observed under a microscope like Marvin Bagley has. And it's not for a good reason, too. That comes with the territory, being drafted ahead of Luka Doncic and Trae Young. The truth is, he hasn't been bad at all. In his first few years in the league, he's averaged a consistent 14 points a game. Then he caught COVID, and he had to deal with some foot problems, so I think he's been okay considering the circumstances. But what makes this season important is that, from now until the summer of 2022, the Kings will have a decision to make. Either offer him a multi-year extension, or give him the 1-year qualifying offer, so he can be a free agent afterwards. Judging from recent events, though, I don't think Bagley wants to be there, and I don't think the Kings want him anymore. In July, he liked a tweet of somebody saying he should get out of Sacramento. At the trade deadline earlier in the year, the Kings attempted to trade him to the Pistons, in exchange for Saddiq Bey, the 19th pick of the 2020 draft, in which the Pistons rejected immediately. In fact, according to Jason Jones of The Athletic, he said, "It's no secret that Bagley was available at the trade deadline, but the Kings never received the kind of offer that made a deal worthwhile. One league executive told me a couple of second-round picks is about all they could see parting with to add Bagley." It's crazy how low his value is, but if you look at the advanced metrics, it's clear why teams don't want him. Out of everyone who plays significant minutes, Bagley has the second worst plus-minus on the roster, and the worst out of all starters. By far. Out of all power forwards, he ranks 31st in the league, according to ESPN's RPM metric. It's been that way for years. His play does not reflect his productivity. This relationship between him and the Kings, it might be over soon.
Bro, the Kings have a history of ruining the potential of their young players. And the number one example is DeMarcus Cousins. Like, honestly, if he was on a different team, or if he was drafted to a different team, I think he would have been a lot more better. This is no offense to Kings fans though, because I'm sure that the Kings fans are awesome fans, but I'm talking about the front office of the Sacramento Kings. I don't know. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but just treat your players right, bro. Because, bro, being in the wrong place with the wrong people has a big impact on how you play the game. Not just on how you play the game, but also mentally. So that's why you should, just treat your players right if you're not treating them right. And if the players don't want to be there, they have the rights to leave. I'm so sick that the NBA uh, the NBA makes players looks like villains when they're just trying to make the best and right move for their career. Sorry guys, I just ranted a bit.
Dennis Schroeder.
Oh yeah, Dennis Schroeder too.
For him, his situation is a lot different than Bagley's. Schroeder has been in the league for a while, and he's become an established player. Over the years, he's had some great seasons in Atlanta and OKC, and it always seemed like he was just about to make the jump from a good point guard to a great point guard. It hasn't happened, though. Actually, in his season with the Lakers, he averaged the most minutes of his career, but his production dipped. Partly because his usage rate dropped, but also because he didn't fit in that well. Throughout the season, he gave fans headaches with the way he played. Sometimes he'd go off, but other times he'd ruin the offense, or chuck up too many bad shots. Even so, the Lakers were still generous enough to offer him a 4-year, $84 million deal. Honestly, he wasn't worth that much to begin with, but according to himself and his agent, he could get much more in free agency. He did not. Most of his offers were near the minimum, and eventually he settled with signing a 1-year, $6 million deal with the Celtics.
Oh, that's sad.
The funny thing is, Schroeder wanted the full mid-level
He fumbled the
exception
bag,
for
though.
$9.5 million, and the Celtics wouldn't even give him that. Even more hilarious, they want him to be the backup point guard to Marcus Smart. Can you imagine going from the starter on the Lakers to being the backup to Marcus Smart? And the Lakers don't miss him at all, because shortly after, they traded for Russell Westbrook. Jaren Jackson Jr. Now, Jaren is not a guy
Triple
who people
J.
criticize often, because he's
Did I just call Jaren Jackson Jr. Triple J? Has anybody called him that? I don't know, that just came into my mind. I don't know why.
pretty good. The issue is, will the Grizzlies actually keep him? Both Luka Doncic and Trae Young, the two guys drafted before and ahead of him, have accepted offers of 5 years, $207 million. Luka and Trae are certainly worth it, but Jaren? I'm not too sure. The Grizzlies could offer him a max extension of 5 years, $173 million, yet they haven't. This article explained the situation pretty well. Basically, the Grizzlies are exploring their options and likely won't give him the deal he wants. They see Ja Morant as the guy who they really want to build around, but Jaren is a complementary piece. Especially since his torn meniscus, Jaren had a hard time coming back.
Bro,
Fans were wondering
sucks.
what was taking so long. It's no secret the Memphis brass has been hesitant, mulling over this decision. I believe it should work out in the end. The Grizzlies, as an organization, has always been known to be cautious. Like most small market teams, they don't give out big contracts unless they know they want to. Jaren could take the same route as Marvin Bagley and just take a 1-year qualifying offer to become a restricted free agent. After that year, if the Grizzlies like what they see, they can match any offer to keep him. I mean, they should keep him regardless, and I think they will. It's just, how should they go about it? With all their new young talent, the Grizzlies have returned back to the playoffs after a 3-year drought. Everything will work out perfectly fine. Lauri Markkanen.
He was just
To
traded
be
to the
honest,
Cavs.
it feels like every year when I make these kind of videos, Lauri is always in them. I've talked about his years in Chicago all the time, how he regressed after his sophomore year, and he hasn't made the strides everyone expected. But now, he's on a new team, so we have something different to talk about. Markkanen is a great fit, as he'll likely replace Kevin Love, filling in as the stretch 4 to develop alongside this incredibly young roster.
Yo, the
With
Cavs have
Colin
a
Sexton
future.
and Darius Garland in the backcourt, both of them are great at driving and kicking, so Markkanen will have a lot more space to shoot and create his own plays. He pairs well in the front court too, alongside Jarrett Allen, who's a more traditional center. Markkanen's range allows the Cavs offense a bunch of different ways to attack. He could run the pick and roll and pick and pop, and he's more athletic than Kevin Love. For a big man, he moves exceptionally well off the ball, can score at the elbow off a flare screen or dive to the rim. In an article by Mark Schindler, this is how he describes Markkanen's potential impact on the team. Quote, Markkanen can immediately benefit the Cavaliers by providing the ability to throw wrinkles and complexity to Cleveland's sets. While it's worth noting that the team was pretty barren of playmaking and shooting last year, the sets and offense in general were fairly basic and often lacked secondary actions, dying out if the initial option was shut down. With two small guards who heavily rely on pick and rolls to create efficient offense, adding Markkanen opens up opportunities to bend a defense. All of this sounds great on paper, so we'll have to see how it plays out. This is the perfect chance for him to shine. And of course, the story of the season, Ben Simmons.
Oh, Why did I
Just
not
like
see
how
that
the
coming
previous
though?
year was about James Harden and the year before that was about Anthony Davis, this time it's Ben Simmons. He's the biggest name who's currently on the trading block, and he's pretty much employing the same tactic that Anthony Davis did. The difference is, Simmons is not Anthony Davis. Not a shot. After not being able to find a deal for him, the Sixers wanted him to come back to play. They tried to reach out to him personally, but he refused to pick up their calls. Only his agent, Rich Paul, has been talking to the Sixers front office. They made it clear that Simmons would not show up to training camp unless his trade request was granted, and they're prepared to eat the fines. The thing is, the Sixers do want to trade him, I think. They've been trying to trade him for over a year. Daryl Morey has negotiated with numerous teams, including the Raptors and Warriors, both of whom called his trade demands absurd. Reportedly, from the Raptors, he wanted Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, and the fourth pick of the
Yo,
draft,
that's a lot
Scotty
to ask for
Barnes.
Ben Simmons though.
Toronto quickly declined that ludicrous trade. The Warriors also expressed interest in Simmons, but when Morey reached out with his offer, it was insane. James Wiseman, Andrew Wiggins, and the 7th and 14th pick of the draft, plus 2 more future first-round picks. Like, it's not even reasonable. However, I think Morey purposely asked for a ridiculous package in return because, deep down, I don't think he wants to trade Simmons. It's confusing. But after his refusal to report to training camp, they don't have a choice anymore. Whatever happens though, one thing remains clear, all eyes are on Ben Simmons, regardless if he stays or goes. Anyway, that's all folks.
Alright guys, that's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.